Just put on some headphones and jumped on my machine. And I'm cutting rough and it's coming up all nice and clean. My homie's right behind me and he got some stuff to spray. All together now. Let's maintain that turf today, that turf today, that turf today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Turf Today, recorded on the Superintendent Network and brought to you, as always, by Toro. Adam and Brian hanging out with you today. We got an awesome interview with Nick Daley, the head superintendent at Capilano Golf and Country Club. Before we get to that, though, we got to talk about a little giveaway we're doing. I know everybody loves a little giveaway on the Turf today. We are giving away a nice new stitched hoodie. This is something we haven't really brought out too much. They are on the website. We haven't sold too many of them. I really can be honest with you. We haven't done too much promotion because they came out and it got hot in a lot of places. So people aren't really thinking about buying hoodies. But we got one in and we're going to give it away. We got this idea from Mr. Adam Conway, sent this in. I hope I got that right. He was saying, why not have everybody send in pictures or videos, content basically, to the Instagram page of their cart and make it like a Warrior Wagon series or something like that. So send in a picture or video of your cart, show it off, all the different customizations, all the different things and tools that you're going to have to carry and use throughout the day, because there's got to be a lot of different combinations out there. And of course, we're a Toro podcast. We'd love to see some Workmans and Toro vehicles, but we also understand that our industry has a ton of great utility vehicles, and you know, you only get what you get. Sometimes you might not have that buying power and you just drive what's there and what's given to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick, I'd say we'd probably pick the top 10, our favorite, and then post that and let the community decide on the favorite, and whoever wins we'll send them the hoodie. So send them in. We'd love to see them. Some people will come up with some of their own ideas or things they can copy, and yeah, I think it's great. Let's dive right into this interview here with Nick Daley. Brian, you're sitting here with a couple, I would call us Canadians, but two guys that work in Canada. Can't really call us full-on Canadians, I guess. Honorary Canadian. Pretty cool to see, you know, a kid from Australia working turf up in British Columbia. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it was going to be the case a while ago. Sort of happened a bit in an unorthodox way, I guess. Never intended to be staying in Canada, and was never intended to be in turf, but it's how things work out.
So tell us about your journey then, Nick. How on earth, how'd you get from Australia to Canada?
Yeah, so I guess to start out, obviously from Sydney, Australia, and then I kind of went through sort of high school, university, started working, hadn't really even traveled yet, and then wanted to travel, do something different, and came to, like most Aussies do, came to Whistler here in Canada for a winter season, and then I heard the summer was good, and that was 14 years ago. So yeah, it kind of kept me here.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How'd you find turf then?
Well, just through Whistler there, trying to find a summer job, and I found, applied for Nicklaus North there up in Whistler, and figured it was a good time to try something new. And I've always wanted to work on a golf course, so I just gave it a go. And yeah, I found it was, something I was really good at. I really enjoyed, and looking for a way to stay in Whistler at the time. It's, trying to stay in a ski town and make that viable is tough. So that was sort of initial thought, and then that sort of grew. And
talk about a place to live, getting to work on a beautiful golf course, and then you got the dead of winter, you get to go skiing all winter. It's best of both worlds.
Yeah, it is.
How did you kind of work that? Were you just a crew member to kind of get things going, and then decided, hey, this is something I kind of like, and started to pursue it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just started there on the maintenance team just as a seasonal guy. As I kind of got into it, had some really good leadership from guys that from the superintendent there and the assistant. Got really good exposure to a bunch of different processes, equipment, all that kind of thing, and yeah, found something I really liked, and part of trying to stay in Whistler there is thinking if I wanted to, make that more viable, I get some schooling to back that up. So I did the Penn State World Campus and studied online while working there, and slowly sort of started to see a different career path there and sort of fell into it in some respects.
Nice. So you spent a winter up there in Canada and you still decided to stay?
Yeah.
After being in Sydney?
Yeah. You'd think that would be odd. Growing up in Sydney and some of the summers you get, the cold and the snow was a good change.
So did you take up snow skiing, or is that something you already enjoyed before you went over there, or what? Can't imagine there's a ton of skiing in Australia.
There is surprising a little bit. It's
Really?
not quite the quality that you might get over here, but it has its days. I've done a few days on snowboarding there in New Zealand, did some trips, but enough to know what I was doing, I guess, and then, or what I thought I knew what I was doing at least, and then Whistler was a bit of an eye-opener. It's a much bigger place, but no, I kind of like the seasonality of it and getting something different, and Sydney's great. It's always nice. It's kind of all the same. So getting a winter, getting a summer, the spring and fall, I really like that about Canada.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice change. Do you get home at all to see your family and things like that?
Yeah, I do. I try and make a point of that every year now, getting back for Christmas at least. Yeah, important to do that and make sure they still know who I am.
Redefined productivity, elevated performance, all electric power. Meet the Greens Pro E1700, Toro's first all-electric greens roller built to deliver dependable performance and effortless operation. With intuitive joystick control, auto alignment for consistent passes, and an integrated smart hitch trailer, your crew will work faster with less hassle. The expandable Hypercell lithium battery system powers through demanding layouts, often on a single charge, while eliminating hydraulics, reducing noise, and minimizing maintenance. Add in a wide 3-roller design and a precise independent drum control, and you get more coverage with less turf impact. Check it out today at toro.com/golf. Toro, count on it.
Talk about when you come over and you're spending time in Canada. Was there a bit of a culture shock for you? Was there much of an adjustment period when you came over?
I wouldn't say so, no. I think Canadians and Australians are very similar cultures, different sports, but in general, I think not too much of a culture change. Going into Whistler, where the majority of people are still Australian, it sort of buffers that a little bit. Yeah, there's people from everywhere, there's people from UK, Canada.
What do you find kind of the biggest difference on the golf courses are from what they're over there to here or in North America?
Obviously the turf grass species that we have there in Sydney, growing a lot of Bermuda or couch grass, we call it back there, and bent grass greens for sure. Over here, the ryegrass, poa is a much bigger turf grass type, and learning how to deal with full poa greens over here in the Pacific Northwest is definitely something a little bit different. Still viewed as something that's not exactly desirable on greens back in Australia, like it is in most places in Canada and the States.
Being where you are in BC, like obviously, I'm assuming because of elevation, you get a lot of that, the snow and stuff like that. I mean, I know there are some other parts that are closer to the coast that are pretty mild year round, right?
Yeah, and winters for us here could be anything. Where the golf course here is located, we're up above the city a little bit and tend to be right on that snow line. So when we get that snow, it could be sleet, could be rain, or it could be a foot or two. You don't really know what you're going to get every winter. And typically what we would see is a couple of 2-week stretches where we're under snow. For the most part, it's fairly mild and we don't see a ton of it.
Beautiful.
Now I understand how you stuck around a little more.
Yeah.
I get it.
Some beauty
It's
in
not
it.
quite the full winter experience.
Yeah, that's my jam right there. I don't like shoveling snow.
No, it's not too much of that.
Just cold enough for winter sports.
Yeah,
that's it.
So tell us about taking that job. You're at Capilano, so taking the job as superintendent there, and tell us a little bit about the property and your crew.
Well, I spent 6 years up there in Whistler at Nicklaus North. I worked my way up to the second assistant position there via irrigation technician roles. Had a little bit of experience with that, and then was very fortunate to be recognized and took on a position here as a second assistant back in 2019, as it were. Yeah, so for the last 7 years, I've been working my way up slowly through various assistant positions, and started as a second assistant. And then before I made that transition to superintendent, I was the senior assistant, and then just gaining experience as I went. And when our previous superintendent, Stu Sheridan, moved on for another opportunity last year, I assumed the role of superintendent there in 2025. Yeah, a year and a half into the role, and learning a great deal as I've gone. We have a great team here. It's a tough property to maintain. It's fairly large, and we've got a big team to do it, and obviously the backing of the club to make it all happen. But I got a great group of assistant superintendents as well, who oversee really the daily operation that frees me up to look long term and the high level picture.
So I want to go back to your Penn State online experience there. Talk about, and we get it a lot. We get a lot of people that reach out to us asking for advice and what it's like and all that. Talk about the challenge of working a full-time job and going through and completing that online program.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and it requires, just to make sure that you're setting aside the right amount of time to go and do the study and make sure you're getting the most out of it. There's not really anybody there making sure you do it. It's entirely on you to make sure you keep up and do the work. At Nicklaus North, I was working here 45 hour weeks, and it was just making sure I set aside, maybe that was a Saturday morning, or it was a certain day of the week, and trying to make a schedule out of that to make it work. Probably challenging in the way that if you went to the campus and did the similar study, you would have a lot more people right there to help you learn a little bit. So that can be challenging, that you're trying to figure a lot of that out yourself. And there's a lot of correspondence via email, and all the discussion on the forums is very good. But I find then you start kind of leaning on your facility and the way you're working at. That gives you a different experience, but also it's kind of a positive in that respect, where you're getting, real world experience. You're working, you're seeing the things that you're learning in class, and there's a definite positive side to being able to do that and sort of apply things straight away. Challenging in that, you have to be disciplined and really kind of buckle down and learn it yourself. But then, there's still a facility there. At the time, I still had our superintendent and assistants that you'd ask questions to, and really kind of get a bit of a barometer on what you're learning and how it really applied.
If you had the ability to do it again, would you choose the same path, or do you think you'd want that college experience?
I think for me, coming at it as my second career and more of a mature age student, I think it worked well. I had the college experience. I originally started as a landscape architect. That was my initial career.
There you go.
Yeah, so I did that initially in Australia, and that was my first career. So I had that experience to draw on as well, and this time around it was more about making sure I could continue to work and I could study at the same time. So I think this same path for sure.
You got all that fun out of you early, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so funny how we always hear about that, eh? Like, I went to school, I tried this, had a lot of fun, and then I found turf, and that's what I took seriously. So it's just very, very common.
Yeah. I think I always thought I'd be working in the golf industry to some respect. I initially did a Bachelor of Landscape Architecture to go down the golf course architect path. But that was back in 2009 I graduated, and there wasn't a ton of work in the golf industry in that respect at the time. So I ended up doing most of my work in the commercial landscape sort of sector. And maybe part of the reason I kind of gravitated towards turf and the superintendent role was that was a way to be on the golf course.
Well, you're still young, so you never know.
Yeah.
Might be able to do it one day. So I've always been interested about those types of programs where you don't have a lot of people or a lot going on other than just kind of learning. Is there anything that they do to kind of keep things exciting and sort of have you guys engage other than just sort of sitting and taking in videos and reading sort of thing?
Yeah, so they'll do team projects as well. They'll typically, obviously, apart from your weekly module that you're working on, you'll in the background be working with other people that you're communicating with via various means to do a team project. So you have your part to play in that, and it kind of gets that discussion happening. Whereas you may not otherwise have that. Yeah, you might not otherwise have that if you're not kind of there. So
keeps you pretty engaged, right?
Yeah, it keeps you engaged and gives you a little bit of ownership that you need to be part of a team and you need to do your bit to make sure that you're helping out everybody else too. So it kind of keeps you locked in.
Talk about you mentioned during schooling it was nice to have some guys, some people there to talk a little bit about the application of what you're learning. Talk about some of those early mentors of yours and how they kind of helped you progress into where you are now.
Yeah, so the superintendent when I started at Nicklaus North, Garrett Woods, he was a great guy, and he really kind of helped kind of push me in that direction and sort of open up my eyes to what the path would be. So if I wanted to pursue this as a career, then getting schooling under my belt would be the right way to go, obviously, to try and make this as more of a career. But also just give me opportunities in training and coaching and the ability to try things on the golf course as well. One thing I remember from those earlier years was they were willing to kind of take a step back and let you explore some ideas, especially when I kind of moved up into the second assistant role, play with a few different processes, see how it reacted on the turf and see if there's any improvement that you could make there. So I think giving some space to learn and grow in that respect was really good. But also just the opportunity to jump on a whole bunch of different equipment and see all aspects of the operation then was really important. And the atmosphere that they'll be able to create there, just a general team mentality made that a really fun place to work and be. So obviously that just generates that much more engagement in what you're doing on the work side of things.
Take us through working your way up to superintendent. How hard is that from going from kind of being one of the crew and senior assistant to then the boss? Was that a hard transition, or did the team kind of do it all together?
Challenging in some respects. I think looking at it from an assistant perspective, I think there's a bit of a veil there. You don't quite know what's on the other side of that leap into the superintendent role. Some of the best advice I have received from other mentors as I kind of moved my way through the turf industry was just to know your current role like the back of your hand. So when that opportunity does come up to make that jump to superintendent, that you already know that so well that you can then focus your time on all the things that are new to you. From my perspective, I reached a point as a senior assistant here that I was very comfortable with how the golf course was running, what it needed, the general sequence of things throughout the year. I was fairly on top of and confident that the other assistants that we had here were capable of doing the same. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have an exceptional team here, not just the assistants, but we have a lot of experienced guys on our team that having the trust that they can do their jobs and do it well and oversee that daily operation to give you the opportunity to focus on those things that are new to you and spend the time to make sure that you do it well. So I think making that new transition to that role is always going to be a challenge, as it rightly should. It's a big step up, but then the important side of it, as I said, having that team behind you makes all the difference.
What was the biggest challenge or biggest surprise for you?
I think it's just where you, from an assistant perspective, you're very much department centric and what your world is. A lot of the communication is all internal. From the superintendent position, it's coming from a lot of different angles. There's a lot more stakeholders that you're communicating with. And then just learning how to bring those all in and make sense of that so you can kind of give your team clear direction. For us here, obviously, a lot more member-facing interaction, our other departments and neighbors as well. You're dealing with a lot more different things than you ordinarily would have or knew about when you're an assistant.
One of the things that we talked about before was just sort of learning how to communicate sort of the technical side of the job to some of the people outside of your department. I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit for us.
Yeah, that's something that's ongoing. I don't know if I've necessarily crafted that just yet, but some of the feedback as we talk as department heads here and helping them understand that level as well. It's very easy, I think, when we talk in our department here and amongst other turf professionals to get very, very specific on the nitty-gritty and how that really makes sense to you. Yeah, just trying to bring that up to a level where it's easily understood and engaging and being able to be absorbed by other departments or your membership, that kind of thing. So I think being, cognizant of what other people's perspectives are and how much they're willing to take in and understand. I'm trying to really think how that could be seen from the other side and how I might better communicate that in terms that are a little bit more generalized and understood.
You mentioned you've got decent sized team there. How are you finding people to fill your roles?
We've done pretty well so far. The retention for the last couple of years for our seasonal positions has been excellent. So I like to think that means we have a good culture here, and that's something that's really important to us, and we put a lot of effort into. The draw for Capilano obviously helps. The club stature in that respect can bring in people. It obviously looks very good on your resume, but it's never too far away. So far, it's so good.
Yeah.
In that respect, but yeah, we're doing okay.
You said culture is something you put a lot of effort into. What do you do to create that culture there within your team?
Something we're working really hard on is the why we do certain things. Like us to focus on the impact that everyone's job has on that final product. Everything from raking bunkers to spraying greens all combines to making that end product. So helping coach people through and helping them understand and get that engagement for what they're actually doing and what that's going towards. As a team, we like to do monthly barbecues or lunches, that kind of thing, just to focus on something different. We run staff golf tournaments, outside events when we have shotguns that take up the course here. Maybe go play a game of softball or something like that, something that's not necessarily attached to the golf course or work, but just something that you can do something fun together and just create that camaraderie.
Nice. So since you do have lots of resumes and you're bringing in lots of people, what is it you're really looking for when you're trying to bring in some younger, newer staff?
I think for the most part, we're looking for a good attitude. I think we can teach people how to maintain a golf course. We can teach them how to operate equipment, but if they're excited, engaged, and want to learn, that's kind of what we really look for in our seasonal guys when they come in. I think that really also relates to any position even up to our assistants, that more than willing to put the effort in to get people to where they want to be or need to be, but they have to be invested in themselves as well to be able to get there. So in terms of attitude or aptitude is the right word, I think. There. So.
Yeah. Most people these days are just looking for a pulse. That's so that's
just the body.
Yeah. It's you can show up somewhat on time, you're hired. That's great.
Yeah. So we've been fortunate that our team, especially this year and the last few years, has been exceptional in that all well mannered people, and they've come in and really been excited to be here and have bought into what we're trying to do.
Nice. So as someone that enjoys the game of golf, how much do you get to play now? And is it something that's important for you to play your golf course?
Absolutely. I should be playing more than I do at Capilano. Exceptionally important because just to get the golfer's perspective, I think you can, even walking around the property during work days is better than driving, but you still don't necessarily see it the same way. So we'll do our best to hit putts on greens and get a sense for how they feel, and not just necessarily rely on our data that we collect, but incredibly important to get out there and play. So I'll be making an effort here to play more, that's for sure. And get
it's
that.
Not easy.
It's not easy, no. We spend a lot of time here, and then to free up time to play the golf course is challenging, but it is important in its own right. You get a much different perspective when you're actually playing the golf course.
This episode of Turf Today is brought to you by Standard Golf, proud to support the #1 conversation in turf. Superintendents know that details matter, and for 100 years, Standard Golf has been focused on the details that help courses stand out. From the new hammer strike hole cutter to the ST2000 aluminum and hybrid cups, bunker rates, tee markers, in-ground trash cans, and fully custom course accessories, Standard Golf gives your crew the tools to do the job right. Standard Golf is 100% employee-owned, American-made in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and trusted by courses around the world. So whether you're preparing for tournament play, upgrading daily course setup, or adding custom touches to make the course unique, make Standard Golf part of your golf course plan. Visit standardgolf.com or contact your local distributor today.
If you do get to play, is it something where you try and play with regular member groups so you're able to communicate with members on a regular basis, or is it just whenever you can find time?
To your first point there, I think not something I've done just yet. Part of my focus over the last year and a half is really just getting up to speed with my role and just making sure I have all my bases covered. But that's really the next step, trying to block off some time to spend with committee members or whoever wants to join and try and meet more members that way. I think that's really important. Even just to play golf with them and speak a similar language, and then to one of your earlier questions, that's a great way to get across some of the things that you do technically that impact their game and the golf course's performance. You can just have that in a bit more of a casual atmosphere.
I know you're early in your superintendent career, but do you have some people that have worked under you or looking to, hire some people that you can train?
Yeah, I think thinking more about how to develop people and still kind of working through that process of how I want to be that and how I would be a mentor to them, some of the guys that we have right now, and trying to emulate some of the advice and mentorship I received and trying to pass that on. Some of the things that we're doing with our AITs right now is, as a start out, we're looking at having them do 3 observations per month that they see of the golf course, and they circulate that in an email to us, and just a way to start discussion and see what they're seeing, and then we can have that conversation and help sort of fine tune not only what they're seeing in the golf course and how to see it, but how to communicate that. So, when they eventually go for that assistant superintendent position or technical role or whatever it is that they go for in the next role, that they're a little bit more prepared to be able to communicate what they see and how they go about their day to day. So, that's definitely one aspect we're looking at. But trying to learn to build on that and figure out how we do that. I think for myself, stepping back from the daily operation has been a challenge. And that's something I've had to learn over the last little while, is that to help develop our assistants or our technical staff, even some of our more experienced guys, that they all have excellent ideas about how to maintain the golf course. And stepping back and letting them problem solve has been something I've had to put some cautious effort into. You can have an answer to everything, but that doesn't necessarily help them develop their own problem solving skills or be able to develop any sort of solution there. So so in that respect, for the more advanced guys there, just getting out of the way almost and being there as support. I can always chat that through with them and come up with a bit more of a team discussion about it. Yeah, letting them sort of take the reins and really trying to figure it out as well.
So how much of that philosophy, or really just your philosophies in general, come from picking the brains of other superintendents, whether you've worked for them or not? Are you picking up the phone to talk through management decisions or leadership styles, or going out and visiting other courses around, whether it's Canada, United States, wherever? Are you leaning on your network for some of that?
100%. Yeah, I've done that a little bit my short term as a superintendent. I think that's also where our British Columbia Golf Course Superintendents Association comes in helpful. We have our meetings at certain intervals throughout the year, and that's a chance to see a big part of our industry all in one spot, be able to ask those questions. For certain things, leaning on some local superintendents, what they've seen and what they've tried has been really helpful, and just helps sort of calibrate your own mind a little bit. But developing that network, and I'm fortunate that I'm still in contact with the previous 2 superintendents here at Capilano. So when there's a historical thing that I'm not too sure about, they've been exceptionally open to me reaching out and having that discussion to try and get some context on what that might be.
It's awesome. So, and I know I've seen you at a tournament or 2 along the way. You've been dabbling in some volunteer experiences and things like that as well.
Yeah, I have. There've been some great experiences, and that's just a good way to learn something different in a different place. I did, I think it was 2023, the Amex tournament down at PGA West. It was great to work with the likes of Thomas Bastis and the head superintendent there, Denver Hart, and just learn how that whole process happens. Denver, as it happened, was assistant here as well when I started, so that's sort of an interesting connection to have and to be able to see him succeed in that area is really good as well. I did the 2024 USG Junior Amateur there at Oakland Hills, and then to see that golf course down there prepared for that kind of event was really cool as well.
Weren't you at that one, Brian?
They could have hosted an open that week. I mean, that golf course was unreal.
Yeah. I mean, they prepared that the same way they would have. And there's the junior players that they had there at that time were exceptional as well. So I can't imagine how they're going to be in a few years' time.
Yeah. Did you have a backpack blower on you that week, walking the entire golf course?
I did that too, yeah. I had that.
Have you recovered?
I recovered. I managed to be on the divot team in the afternoon a few more times in the backpack teams.
That's good. That's good.
I didn't get the full experience there, but yeah, it was an interesting experience. Probably the hardest I've worked in a week for sure. Uh, yeah, all on foot. I think I rake bunkers for the most part, but
Yeah.
yeah, the whole operation there was pretty eye opening. It was great to see. It was quite the event. It's a long week too, a long event for the guys playing.
Oh, those events. I mean, those are like 10 days, instead of the 7 or whatever, it's 10, 11 days with practice rounds, qualifying rounds, match play rounds. It's a long week.
Yeah, I can't remember the
busy.
format, but I think they played like a couple of 36 hole days there with some of their matches. I think it ends up being about 9 rounds that they play in a short period of time. It's impressive.
Yes, it is.
You guys hosted the Pacific Coast Amateur. What was that like? You guys have to beef up a little bit to be able to put that on?
Yeah, that was a fun event. Yeah, we did that in 2023, and I think it was a good change out for our team to do something different and prepare the course, not just for daily play, but for a tournament like that. Yeah, being able to schedule our team in a slightly different way and do a bunch of things that we wouldn't normally do. A lot of work, obviously, leading up to the tournament and having it prepared. But by the time we actually got to the event, it was a pretty smooth process. We did our split shifts and we had everybody in kind of working through the golf course in a smooth fashion, and that was just a really fun event to have the golf course shine as good as it possibly can. Actually have some long rough out there and some fast greens by the end of it. So it was quite the week.
It'd be so special to see your own golf course just get set up for a big tournament like that. Like you have the same course all the time, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's this big event and you got all these people and everything, and it's your own show. Like I think that's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So to be able to run our team through that and do all the similar things that you would do for any other big event, and then to have great compliments from the players as well at the end of the week was obviously really good to get. And it was an exciting tournament too. I think it came down to playoff in the end. So it's always exciting then to be able to follow there. And I think just in general viewing of that, the access to some of those amateur events is great because it's a bit more free form. You can follow in behind the groups and see some of these golfers that are going to be maybe on the tour there eventually up close, and you can just see how good they are.
All right. So be honest. It goes into a playoff. Like, are you really excited that it's going into a playoff after you spent that many hours on property? I mean, it's like every tour event I go to on a Sunday afternoon, and we're like, oh my God, another playoff.
Yeah, I think by that point we spent enough time there doing it that, with a few extra holes.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is just, you want to get some water down on those greens as soon as you can. Yeah, those last few holes have to wait that, extra hour or so. So that's the only thing. It would be nice to get a bit more water down, but it was good, and it made the event just that much more special. So
That's awesome.
It was a busy year too. 2023 CGSA Assistant Superintendent of the Year. So that's the Canadian Golf Course Superintendents Association. So pretty exciting.
It was very exciting. Yeah, it was unexpected, and I feel honored that previous superintendents do recognize me and put me forward for the award, and then equally for the CGSA to actually pick me and give me that award. It was quite the experience. But I got to go out to Montreal and accept the award, and humbling experience all over. And then speaking in front of a couple hundred people is just a development thing in itself. Getting comfortable trying to do that kind of thing. So the amount of support I received all over from the industry on that as well. Everybody that reached out was just was really cool to see. Everyone that kind of pays attention and to what's happening in the industry.
I'm glad you just brought that up about speaking in front of people and just kind of how it can be uncomfortable. How important do you think it is for young people kind of coming up to force themselves to be uncomfortable, and what kind of growth comes from that?
Yeah, that's probably the number one thing. And then some of the other advice I've received in the past is to become a superintendent, get comfortable being uncomfortable was, I think, the term that they used. And every time you come up to something new, you're not necessarily going to know what the answer is. And then you're going to have to figure out how to get there because effectively the buck stops with you. So, and some of those things may not be so pleasant. You have to work your way through, but that's all part of the job. And part of that is, speaking publicly. And, it's not something that comes natural to me, but in order to get better at it, you kind of have to put yourself in the position to do it. And maybe you might not do so well on some events, but then you'll learn from that. And I think the more time you spend up there doing it, the more comfortable you get. And the more you realize that, no one in the crowd wants to see you fail, and they're kind of there with you they just want to hear what you have to say, really. So I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of our member events, to larger crowds. And then obviously even starting out, it's so important for assistants because you end up doing morning meetings. And then for us, we've got quite a large team. So the first time you stand up in front of 30 odd guys and deliver the daily message and the jobs, it can be kind of overwhelming at first. So I remember my first time there was a bit of a challenge, but you get comfortable in your own department doing that, and then you can kind of take that confidence onto everything else you do and try to get better at it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend anybody to seek out opportunities to do more things that are outside their comfort zone, because that's kind of where your development happens.
It's a great point. I know we've had a lot of people come on the show and say that they didn't think they'd ever do something like this, but it's actually worked out really well for their career, and they were very comfortable doing it towards the end. So it's awesome to see when people do open themselves up that they enjoy what they're doing and they are successful. I wanted to actually just go back to you taking on the superintendent role. I guess it ties in a little bit with public speaking, but just maybe some of the surprises or some of the things that kind of shocked you about the job, even though you kind of were on the other side of the door right there, ready to take it. Is there a few things you've kind of noticed in your first year and a half where it's like, oh, geez, I wasn't ready for this?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of some examples, but there are so many things that you wouldn't have thought would be under your purview when you would come into this role that you wouldn't think would be, part of being a superintendent. Our golf course here is neighbored by, about 150 homes, and they all have their own sort of, special interactions at times and certain needs that, you wouldn't think that would necessarily be the case. From the golf course perspective, I think there wasn't really too many surprises. Something that Stu did very well for me was to expose me to as many aspects of the club as he could, and that kind of takes the mask off as many pieces of the puzzle as he can. And so for me, that was to be involved in committee meetings, member-facing events, and even sitting down and having discussions about financials and capital planning, all those kinds of things. And my recommendation would be to anybody out there is like, if that opportunity exists to get that experience or have those conversations with your superintendent as an assistant, then that's going to go a long way to helping unveil all those mysteries, so to speak. The more you can sort of pick away at that and figure out where those blind spots are, the better.
So going into committee meetings, going into meetings with HOA, which I'm sure you do regularly with the homes kind of surrounding the golf course, conflict has got to be, it's going to happen. How do you handle conflict when you're in those situations?
Yeah, I think conflict in general, working with people every day, regardless of what golf course you're at, and whether there's somebody at your golf course or a member of the public or anything like that. The biggest thing that I've really learned is that you can only control your own emotions, and the best way to see a solution to that is making sure that you can stay calm even and keep the situation as calm and even as you can. Everything that you can have control over, making sure that you're doing the work to really kind of have your information behind you to back up what you're doing. I think anything that you're doing at any given time, having a reason for doing it is going to make what you're trying to do a bit more credible. So whether that's right or not, but having your sort of thought process there and that information or that data to back it up is important. That combined with an even temperament can go a long way.
And you guys are going through some big coursework, so I imagine this is coming into play quite frequently right now?
Yeah. As we go through future planning, the big part of that and any part of my role is just trying to see ahead and see as many of the things that need to be thought of and trying to get ahead of as many things as you can possibly get ahead of is important, and you never be able to catch it all. And so then coming back to that last point, is having to be adaptable and figuring out, when you don't know the answer to something, it's like, well, it's, where can you find that? And that does, come back to your network and other superintendents and people that have that experience and have gone through that process.
We are back with another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring Dr. Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. Our question this week comes in from Mike Juleson. How often should we be rolling greens? Does it change depending on time of year?
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Adam, for having me on the show this week. And thanks again, Mike, for the great end user question that you submitted. And yeah, Absolutely. I would say rolling frequency is something that you definitely want to adjust based on the season that you're dealing with, and your turf health status, and really your overall, performance goals of your putting surface. In the spring, obviously, many courses are starting off the year with 2 to 3 times per week as kind of being that baseline, and then as you're getting into more active growth and higher playing demands, you may see that rolling increase to 3 to 5 times per week. And then obviously for courses that are, trying to reach tournament type conditions, a lot of facilities are going to be out there rolling daily when they're trying to get it, ready for that type of performance. So on the other hand, kind of back to the seasonal piece, during summer stress periods, especially when, temperatures are high and that turf is under a lot of pressure, it sometimes makes a lot of sense to back off and really try to prioritize that plant health where you can. One thing I've always tried to remind people is that rolling isn't just about good green speed. It's, also about improving the smoothness and the consistency of your putting surface. So in many situations, you can actually gain more meaningful speed through rolling rather than, lowering the mowing height, which is often, quite much more of a stressful event for the plant, if you will, than rolling it. So if your turf is healthy and recovering well, I generally look to increase, rolling frequency as much as you can before I start chasing speed by dropping height of cut, which is obviously going to have other, physiological impacts on the turf grass itself. So great question, and yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah, definitely a good one. And the only thing that popped up for me was the type of roller you might have. If you have just a speed roller, it's something that could go out more often potentially. And then if you have a big Salsco or Smithco heavy roller, maybe that's not going out as much. So there's a lot of factors there. So it's definitely something to take care of and watch.
Great points, Adam. Great points.
All right. Well, this wraps up another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring PhD agronomist Tony Goldsby from the Andersons.
Totally switching topics on here, Nick. From Australia, are you more of a soccer, football, whatever we want to call it, rugby? What's the big ticket there?
In Australia, probably rugby league and Australian rules football are the biggest ones. Funny that football is probably our biggest participation sport. For depending where you are in the country, is kind of determines whether you're following Australian rules football or rugby league. For me, I grew up in Sydney, where it's sort of rugby league territory, but can certainly follow Australian rules, so it's more of a Melbourne sport in other areas of the country.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between the two? I mean, is Australian rules football, is that soccer, or is that just like a variation of rugby?
It's its own thing. I don't know how to describe that, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. I'll have to Google it.
Did you ever play Gaelic football in high school?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You remember that, Brian?
Oh, no, huh?
No? Okay, yeah.
No.
It's like rugby, but it's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually very entertaining to watch on TV. It's
Yeah,
on sometimes over here, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, very fast. Yeah, probably Gaelic football is probably the closest comparison. Yeah, 360 game like soccer would be, but then with the football, and it's entirely its own thing. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. The rugby guys are just insane. Like that's the only sport I can turn on. I'll be sitting at my kids' lacrosse game as they're killing each other with their lacrosse sticks, and then the field over, they're playing rugby. I'm like, that's the only game where they can look over at lacrosse and say those guys are, sissies. Like it's insane.
Yeah, they're their own thing. That's for sure. I couldn't do it.
No.
Yeah.
I always thought hockey players were the toughest athletes until I met rugby guys, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah. To run full steam at someone that's about 3 times as big as you, I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it
with no pads.
No pads.
No pads.
Yeah, all shoulder, all meat.
No. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I was just going to ask you about making the trek over to Canada. When you talk to your buddies back home, do you have an amazing wildlife experience or just Canadian experience you like to tell?
A wildlife experience. I think they're always really interested to hear about bears.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of bears. We don't see too many down here in Vancouver, the odd one, but when I was up in Whistler, But it's funny how commonplace they became. And you'd be going to work. I remember going to work at Nicklaus North, be 4 o'clock in the morning, dark, and there'll be a bear just, right there off to your side. And that's a good way to wake up in the morning. Yeah, seeing a 400-pound bear right there. So that was a bit eye-opening for me. But honestly, in comparison to Australia, at least you can see the things that are going to get you in Canada, whereas Australia is a different story. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a balancing act in that. So especially playing golf, there's not too many snakes in the bushes here.
Did you, was it commonplace to have to do a bunch of repairing of damage up at Whistler with bears and that kind of stuff? Were they notorious for messing up the flag sticks and knocking over trash cans and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, all that fun stuff. They definitely like going off the flag sticks and playing with those. So
I don't
yeah.
get it. It's hilarious.
It is
Yeah.
so funny. It's like a cat in a little string toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow they managed to get the cup sideways in the green. I don't know how they managed to do that, but
Wow.
that's a bit of a repair job every now and then. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess when you're that heavy, you just push everything over.
that's it. Now you don't have to worry about it. I think coyotes too. They're a bit of a
Oh, yeah.
This episode of Turf Today is also brought to you by Track Mats. Eliminate wear paths and transform your cart paths with an eco-friendly and innovative solution. Within 6 to 8 weeks, the grass will grow through the mat and the crown will be protected. I have used these at a couple different golf courses we've worked at, either getting the smaller rolls or getting some of the bigger ones and cutting them up to fit the shape. There are definitely different areas, walk-on, walk-off areas around cart paths and tees and things like that this is great for, especially in areas where everybody's heading in the same direction all the time. We actually found that these were really good on the turns for a cart path because everybody likes to cut the corner, right? Everybody just gets that one wheel that goes over the grass, and over time you get that rut, the water gets in there and all that. So it's just, these are a great solution if you can think about some problem areas. I'm sure you are right now. A few spots on your course you could benefit from a track mat. Reach out to these guys. They want to help. Trackmats.com.
So, Nick, favorite part of what you do?
Yeah, I think when you can take a minute and just sort of realize where you are, I think is really cool. I think some of the things about Nicklaus North that even got me into the industry. So one thing I really remember is, I'd cut pins a lot when I was on the team, and you get to the 17th green there, which overlooks Green Lake and the mountains, and you get there before anybody else. And that the lake's glass at that time of morning, and that's probably as good an advertisement as you can get for a turf job. And then so fortunate here, you can kind of take a minute, and at Capilano we have the mountains to the north, the city to the south, and if you can take a minute and just appreciate where you are, it's pretty special. And then aside from that, you've got great opportunities to play golf in a bunch of different areas, and then meet really cool people as you go that have done quite a lot of interesting things. And then obviously you have the opportunity now as a superintendent to have an impact on a pretty special piece of property here as well.
It's amazing to hear you talk like that after we started the interview, and you were saying that it might not have ever worked up there, might not have ever worked in turf, and now here we are.
Yeah, it just sort of took on its sort of life of its own, really. Yeah, fortunate to be in the turf industry and in the golf industry and be this close to a game I've kind of played since a young age. So, it's interesting to see how it all sort of developed. And, had I not got that job at Nick North, I might be back in Australia doing something completely different. So,
Yeah,
funny.
I was gonna ask, what would you have been doing? Was there a backup plan?
Probably would have been going back to landscape architecture, and that was always the intent. I was always heading back there after a year or so, and that was the goal. And then I think our managing director there kept asking me if I'm coming back. I was like, maybe one more year, and then I just kept rolling on. So
Yeah, it seems like it worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it definitely has.
So when you get to play, what kind of game do you carry these days?
I'm getting out a little bit more often there. I'm down to a 2, so
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Down to a 2.
a scratchy 2. It doesn't look pretty most of the time, but
Yeah.
every now and then it clicks and it kind of looks like it should. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Good
No,
for
I'm making
you.
an effort to try and get out. Even I live 40 minutes north of the city, and even trying to get out the local course there as much as I can, and trying to keep some resemblance of a game together. And so yeah, it's so I can enjoy the courses when I get to go and play them.
Makes it a lot better, a lot easier to enjoy when you're playing well.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, no question. Awesome.
Well, this has been huge, brother. We really appreciate your time today. We always leave the last few minutes to our guests.
Yeah, okay. I think for mine, just thinking about, as I made the transition to being a superintendent, just encouraging any assistant that, is thinking about that transition and whether or not they're ready or not, is just to make every opportunity to expand their development in the industry. Some of the really cool experiences I've done is hosting a chapter meeting for our BCGSA. So we did an assistance day here at Capilano a few years back, taking the opportunity to get outside your comfort zone and do stuff like that, reaching out to people in industry and superintendents to get as much information as you can, and then, encouraging them to be as comfortable as they can with their current position and know that they got that ready to go to jump into the next role.
Beautiful.
Awesome. That's great advice. Love that. Well, brother, it's 3 hours earlier, so it's lunchtime for you.
It is.
I really appreciate you making the time for us today. I know this was kind of a bit of a quick turnaround. We were chatting with your social media manager, and you were able to make it work. So we really, really appreciate it.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed it. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Nick. That was awesome. Appreciate all your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, take care, brother.
Take care. Great advice. Great advice. Yeah. I mean, just talking about his evolution and his career path. I mean, definitely offering advice that he lived, getting through it, making yourself uncomfortable, asking questions, taking stuff that you're learning in school and talking it through with someone you trust. And yeah, just great stuff. Really good stuff.
I love how he was very prepared, for his job and for everything that he's got going in his life. It's getting to be more and more common. We're seeing people that are very well managed. They manage their time well. They're good at multitasking. They think about things. They plan ahead. You have to, whether the job teaches you that or the industry teaches you that, or you're just that kind of person and you do well here, you really have to be ahead of things and on top of things and almost planning months in advance to make sure that everything's going to happen well that day. So I thought he was really good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And looking through his golf course here, man, the place looks awesome.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they do such a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at all the pictures kind of scrolling through right now. It's like, man, it's got some mountaintops in the background and huge firs and all. Oh, man, unreal. Yeah. Nice little Stanley Thompson. Beautiful.
That is going to put a wrap on this episode. Thank you so much to Nick Daley for giving us some time. Awesome, man. Now, will the Canadians get further than the Australians? Oh, I don't know. Will the Canadians get further than the Americans? Got a little World Cup action right now. This is exciting. Everybody, we will see you next week. Keep those real sharp. Send us some videos, pictures, whatever you got of your Warrior wagon. You got a week, so we'll see you soon.
Bang, bang, pow, what I do is magic. I hop on the track and he get the spaz and rip and break the shit till he get the crack. And all hell breaks loose when I get the packing. Got flows all day, you can check my notes. No interruptions when I'm in my zone. You hate what is real, but you'll never know how real I get when I'm in control. Damn, it's back to the basics. Remember when I would be rapping in basements? Yeah, and now I skip bases. This be the shit that I do on a basis. Look, don't care about the placement. I could care less about me being famous. Hey, I do this myself and they all getting mad cause I don't know their faces. They want a feature and I want to check. Give me a brick and a bag on my neck. I need my girl to be whipping a vet and my ex to be bitter and live with regrets. I hit the bank with a smirk on my face and they getting mad cause I'm getting respect. So watch how I do it, my ethic is perfect. I'm working and earning, that be how I flex. Shout out the people that told me I wouldn't. Y'all are the reason I'm still making music. They tell me they hate when I step on the edge, but when I back up they just try to abuse me. It's so unamusing and this is my void in a world full of hate, but the shit ain't confusing. Look, I don't really got a time for y'all. I promise you I'm not the type to fall. You're the type to go and drop the ball, and I'm the type to go and wreck them all. I don't mean to brag, but I'm too impatient. My old songs sound like the latest. In 2 years, tell me who's the greatest. I've been on the move, ain't no time for waiting. I've been on a new wave, making plans right now. Say my name, damn, that's another man down. Everyone around who want a man right now. Gotta stand right now for the fan right now. It's said and done, so now you know me. I do this all by my lonely. They used to hate me and now they own me. It's Cam Michael, one and only.
Yeah, I built my legacy with no one. Up at night, ammo stacked, I can show 'em up. Yeah, I built my legacy with no one. Me, myself, and I, fuck 'em, they ain't showing up. Yeah, I built my legacy with no one. Up at night, ammo stacked, I can show 'em up. Yeah, I built my legacy with no one. Me, myself, and I, fuck 'em, they ain't showing up.
I don't really got patience. Have you checked on my latest? Probably not, still sleeping on me. Man, I swear it's so basic. Euro trip making pesos. No sleep is how the pace goes. I just let the music take hold. When I drop a song, feel I make gold. Like, yeah, what you really want? Show you who's king in the land for the pawns. Let the phone ring, I've been making these songs. Gotta stay with the hype, now I'm never gonna pause. See you down for the cause, better hop on quick.
So one day, get the world on my dick. So much more, don't care being rich. Want a real good life, my bomb ass bitch. Don't need no handouts, I make mine. No Rolex, I make time. I come through, get dapped up, chill a little bit, then say bye. That's true shit. Knew one day I'll do this. Drawing up my own blueprint, I cut them off. Ain't dragging if you a nuisance. My schedule tight, better hurry. I already got no time for the worries. Wanna judge me, better stand with a jury. Cause I murder every beat till they all gonna scurry. And I'm on that now. Better know what's up, bitch. I ain't saying that double. Fourth quarter, I'm coming down and picking up where y'all fumble. Yeah, I built my